Heed what the ancients did say, and live in the righteous way, and keep it up every day. And don't you go astray.
The Nubian Redemption short story is a fictional account of historic events in ancient Egypt, which is also known as Kemet. It covers a series of events stretching from the end of the 12th dynasty through to the beginning of the 18th dynasty during the first half of the second millennium BCE. It takes a perspective of Yahmose I, who was the first ruler of the 18th dynasty, as he prepared to do battle with the invading Hyksos rulers in northern Egypt, and gives a brief account of the significant events that brought about the situation that they found themselves in. About 300 years before, a small group of Canaanite refugees arrived and were eventually allowed to settle close to the border by a benevolent queen to form a small semi-autonomous state that is referred to by the Egyptologists as the 14th dynasty. This would be the start of what would gradually lead to the conflict situation that Yahmose was now facing. So you can see here a clipping from the story describing the arrival of the Canaanites into ancient Egypt. They were not totally unknown to the ancient Egyptians, who had already developed trading relations in Canaan and beyond. So they were familiar with the Canaanite practices and rituals, which leaned towards a nomadic cattle herding type of culture. Something that the ancient Egyptians saw as having a disruptive effect on the land and their ability to establish a civil society. So the arrival of the Canaanite refugees was not altogether welcomed. Tolerance would become the order of the day with the appointment of Queen Sobek Neferu, the beautiful protectress, as ruler, when the Canaanite settlement within ancient Egypt, also known as Kemet, would be officially recognized. And as you can see from this clipping from the story, she had always been more sympathetic towards the growing Canaanite refugee community than her brother, and in her short time as ruler, having noted that they indeed had shown themselves capable of adapting to the civil laws of the land, decided to grant them a small region to self-rule within the territory, but on the border. The name of the queen incorporated the name of the protector deity Sobek, iconized as a man with the head of a crocodile and symbolizing human development out of a life that is carried on the waves of nature and its deities, into a more stable lifestyle that instead works in harmony with nature. From this clipping we see, when the ancestors told us of the glory of heaven, and our scientists proved the spirit of oneness to be an everlasting force that should be pursued, this was the birth of open civilization. The civil laws of the ancient Egyptians were attached to the goddess Mahat, encompassing the qualities of truth, harmony, justice, and order, with religious, spirituality, and science being molded into one harmonious cultural force. They were very conscious of their roots in Nubia and what that meant with regards to their human responsibilities as it related to the god Nu, representing the rising up in the spirit of the righteous into the heavens. Much of these values would over a long period of time be adopted by the Canaanite settlers, although at times misinterpreted or misunderstood. There are biblical scholars who would place Joseph out of the story in the book of Genesis and his siblings amongst this first group of refugee Canaanites, who were at first viewed with suspicion before being accepted and given rights of abode within the territory where presumably the 12 tribes of Israel would be formed from the household of each son. The Bible account doesn't acknowledge different dynasties of rule other than to say the Egyptians had at first been tolerant towards them and then over a long period of time becoming hostile going into the time of Moses. This would identify the Egyptian rule described in the Bible to cover the 12th, 13th, 17th and 18th dynasties, with the dynasties in between representing rulership under Canaanite and Hyksos influence in the north, presumably encompassing the famed children of Israel. But the Hyksos 15th dynasty was far from being an innocent party in the historic affairs as it relates to ancient Egypt. As we can see from this clipping, so began their riotous invasion into the land of Kemet, plundering, slaughtering, looting, killing, and enslaving wherever they were able to reach into the empire. After 100 years of Hyksos rule in northern Egypt, a final conflict situation between the north and the south had come to a head, and Yahmose was on the verge of leading his army into the north to rid their lands of the foreign invader. From this clip, he is speaking to his high-ranking generals and lords. We shall march forward, even going into the land of Canaan itself, and anything that we find that they have pillaged and looted from us, including our lost people, then we will take it back with no negotiating and no bargaining. The need for the Nubians' redemption was recognized, called for, and claimed successfully for the lost African people of the north, because of Yahmose's deep belief in the need to preserve human love and harmony in accordance with nature and all of its deities. If you would like a copy of this short story, you can go to our Facebook page, which is at facebook.com/Saturn7Meds. Scroll down on that page until you get to the Nubian Redemption post, and in the comments you'll find a download link where you can click on to get a free copy. Okay, thank you.
Heed what the ancients did say, and live in the righteous way, and keep it up every day. And don't you go astray, many are lost in dismay. That's why they cannot stay, by your words you must get paid. And if not, you